Hello, everyone. Greetings from Hawk Hill. It's Jill Bodensteiner, Director of Athletics, wishing you a Happy New Year. I want to start by thanking you, not only for clicking on this link to watch the video, but for all of your support and engagement with St. Joe's Athletics over the years. So thank you. I want to start with some fall highlights, beginning with on the academic side. We got a 95% graduation rate as announced by the NCAA in December of 2021. Could not be more proud of that. It's an outstanding figure and shows that for real, our student athletes are getting opportunities to receive and complete an outstanding education. Our fall sports, I'm going to start with field hockey. Perennial national contender, had another great season, reached the top 10, won their third in 4 years, third A10 championship in 4 years, which means 3 NCAA bids in the last 4 years. Unfortunately for Coach Farquhar and her squad, they hit a very hot Liberty team. Liberty ended up making it all the way to the national championship game. But congratulations to Lynn and her group on another great season. Women's soccer had a bit of a rough start to the season and rallied. I'm really proud of the resilience of that team. They came back. All they had to do was beat the top team in the conference at VCU in order to secure a bid in the A10 tournament, and they did it. They beat VCU, previously undefeated in the conference, 1-0. Qualified for the A10 tournament. Then all they had to do was go back to VCU and play them again, and they did it again, and they beat them 1-0 to make it to the Final Four. Just an awesome display of the Hawk will never die. Men's soccer, best season in years, qualified for the A10 championship for the first time since 2013. They were the 3rd seed, so they hosted for the first time since 1994. Just an outstanding performance by our fall teams. On the cross-country front, both coaches would tell you that they were maybe disappointed in the team finish, but we had some outstanding individual efforts throughout the entire season. At the A10 championship meet, freshman Ethan McIntyre was the top freshman. He finished 7th overall and was the most outstanding rookie performer of the meet. And on the women's side, junior Sarah Myers paced us all season, and that was no different at the A10 championship. She set a personal record by 30 seconds running the 5K in 19 minutes and 17 seconds. So congratulations to everyone on those teams as well. The final highlight of the fall is our relationship with Gompers, which has just grown and grown. Don DeJulia and I wrote a grant, received $100,000, partnered with our education department to create a recess curriculum. And that curriculum has been implemented in large part by our student athletes, thanks to the work of our Student Athlete Advisory Council, led by women's soccer senior Jenna Leonzi. They've done an absolutely fantastic job. And as I said, the relationship with Gompers is something we should all be really proud of. So moving on to winter sports, let's start with the lowlights. COVID has again wreaked havoc on our basketball teams. It's been really frustrating and difficult to get into a rhythm, and we hope we can do so certainly in the near future. But the highlights were sweeping Penn and Temple in 1 week on the men's and women's side, really made a statement in the Big Five. And for the men, going to Richmond, preseason pick to finish 2nd in the conference and beating them by almost 30 points on the road to start the conference. Best basketball we've played, and it was just a really great win. So best wishes to our basketballs going forward. We also have our indoor track athletes here on Hawk Hill and ready to get their winter sport going. I want to switch gears and talk about our athletic strategic plan, which we're going to release publicly in the next few weeks. So I'll give you a brief overview. We have 5 pillars, and those pillars are competitive excellence, transformational student athlete experiences, improving our facilities, and then, leveraging athletics to drive engagement and exposure for the university. And finally, implementing a responsible financial model for the athletics department. In addition to those 5 elements, we've got core differentiators, and those differentiators are our coaches, our culture, and our recruiting and player development. Those 3 things are what going to separate us from our peers. On the culture front, a huge part of that is our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. We spent much of last year doing some foundational conversations. What do we do well? Where do we need to improve? What are some basic terms that we should all be familiar with? And having really difficult and eye-opening conversations. This year, we want to focus on getting students out to learn more through our community, not necessarily by doing service work, but by doing what we're calling cultural immersion field trips, to go to various local museums and exhibitions and learn with an open mind. And so to that end, we launched an athletics diversity and inclusion crowdfunding exercise, and it went extremely well. We raised $6,822 from 34 donors, and that money, as I said, will go directly to paying for our cultural immersion field trips for our student athletes. And stay tuned, we're going to continue to have crowdfunding opportunities, particularly to help us out on the diversity, equity, and inclusion front. And then finally, want to give an update. I mentioned one of the pillars of our strategic plan is improving our facilities. As most of you probably know, we are embarking on a $55 million project to build a basketball practice facility, make some improvements to Hagan Arena, and impact the lives of all of our student athletes with new locker rooms, new sport performance center, and new indoor turf space, erg room, golf simulator, etc. So we have retained a world-renowned architect, Perkins and Will. We're working with their Boston office, and they're designing the building. And we just brought a construction manager on board. They're helping us to price out the design and get ready to build it. And then simultaneously, we're fundraising. So as you know, probably know, we were lucky enough to receive an amazing transformational $20 million gift from Mr. Jim McGuire. And now we're out fundraising for the rest of the money so we can get that building, get shovels in the ground as soon as we can. So if any of you have interest in learning more about how to participate and become a part of the solution to building and improving our facilities, please reach out to me or to Laurel Hosmer, our Director of Athletics Development. Want to take a minute to note some significant changes in college athletics. The NCAA this month, January 2022, the members will be voting on a new constitution. And what that new constitution will do, in short, is decentralize. We're going to have less NCAA and more conference, more Division I specific decision-making and rules. So it really is going to be a seismic change in the governance of college athletics. In addition, conference realignment is alive and well, starting with Texas and Oklahoma leaving for the SEC. And I think most recently, the announcement that Loyola of Chicago will be joining the Atlantic 10, effective July 1st, 2022. We are thrilled to be adding another Jesuit institution to the A10. That brings us to 4 Jesuit institutions, and cannot be more excited about a school the caliber of Loyola Chicago. And finally, we've got intervention by senators down in Washington, D.C., hoping to draft a bill that would govern college athletics, which would again lead to seismic change. And I'm trying to stay very involved in that by heading to Washington, D.C., and being a part of those discussions on what such a bill could and should look like. So that's all for now. In closing, I'm going to offer again my thank you, my continued thanks and gratitude on behalf of our coaches and student athletes. And I'm going to give you one key reminder, and that is that our annual Day of Giving is on March 21 this spring. And that Day of Giving is really critical. Every dollar goes directly to our operating budget to help us sustain the transformational student athlete experiences that I spoke of earlier. So whether you're an annual giver, thank you, or whether you might be a first timer, any dollar amount helps. Again, ask you to mark your calendars and pay attention to social media as we get closer to March 21. Again, thank you so much for your engagement. Happy New Year, stay safe, and the Hawk will never die. Take care.